Hey, I'm Mechanical Engineer, and this is how to build an RC boat.
Part 1.
So like I said before, this is part 1 on how to build an RC boat. And in this video, we'll be focusing entirely on how to build the boat itself. So let's go ahead and sail right into it. So to begin, the first thing we're going to have to decide is what kind of building material we're going to use. Originally, I was thinking about using some kind of plastic like plexiglass or Lexan, but I eventually decided upon wood because of how easy it is to work with. And so for wood, I will be using a 1/2-inch pine board for the inside skeleton of the ship, and 1/4-inch poplar board for the outside. Now of course you can basically use any type of wood you would like, but I would recommend the solid wood for the outside of the boat, so no plywood. So to begin, I'm going to take my 1/4-inch poplar board and I'm going to draw an outline of what I want the base of my ship to look like. Now I made a small mistake when drawing this out. My outline is 4 inches wide and 10 inches long, which is a fine profile for the overall ship. But we have to keep in mind that the top of the ship is going to be thicker than the bottom of the ship, because we're going to put our sides on at an angle. So I'm going to keep the same basic design and length, but I'm going to make it about 1.5 inches narrower when I go to cut it out. Like this. Next, I'm going to cut out a 1 by 2 inch hole in the back of the boat. The reason for doing this is so we'll have somewhere for the propeller shaft to go. I will need to cut out 2 pieces of our 1/2-inch pine board for the frame of the boat. And the height of the frame will of course determine the height of the whole ship. I made my frames 1 inch tall because I think that'll look the best, but since they're so small, chances are you will not be able to fit everything inside the boat. A few things will have to go on top. So if you want everything to fit inside your boat, you should make your frame a little bit taller. Once I decide on the height, I cut out 2 pieces, with each of the sides cut at 25 degrees. And then I cut 1 inch wide and a 1/2-inch tall hole in the back one. This one's going to go right over the hole in the back of the ship. And when cutting these out, it's very important that you make them just a fraction of an inch wider than the frame of the ship. Because since the base is square, if we cut them the very same length, our sides wouldn't match up when we put them on. So now we can glue and lightly nail these frames to the baseboard. We'll glue the solid one about 3 inches from the peak, and we'll glue the one with the notch cut in it right in front of the notch on the ship. Like this. Next, we'll cut out and glue on our sides. I cut a 20-degree angle at the back of both sides, and I also cut them 3/4 of an inch taller than the frames. And really, the only reason for doing that is to make the ship look more realistic. Next, we'll cut out the back piece and cut a small notch in that to match the notch in the ship. Then we'll glue it in place. I'm not going to nail it since the sides are so thin, but I'm going to hold it together with tape until the glue dries. Now we'll repeat the process and glue on the 2 pieces that make up the front of the ship. And the easiest way I know to cut out these pieces to make sure you get the angles right is to set your board right up against the side of the ship at the same position that it needs to sit at, mark that angle with a pin, cut along the line, and then repeat the process for the other 2 angles. Once both pieces are cut out, we can go ahead and glue them on, again using tape to hold them together. Now of course you don't have to, but I'm going to glue this small dowel rod to the front of the ship, yes for looks, but also to make it more streamlined. And lastly, as far as gluing is concerned, we'll cut out 2 small pieces to act as walls to prevent water from getting in, and we'll glue these on each side of the hole. Now if we flip the boat over, you'll see that there are cracks where the different boards meet up. This is because we didn't cut any angles in the joints for the different pieces to properly meet. However, this was not an oversight or an accident, this is something that I intentionally did. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Loctite repair putty, which is a waterproofing putty, and I'm going to apply it to all the cracks and crevices along the outside of the boat to ensure that we have a watertight seal. And as soon as the putty dries, we'll take a sander to the bottom of the ship, rounding any corners and getting rid of any and all excess putty. Like this. I went a little crazy sanding the front, so now it's a little bit more pointy than it is rounded, but I kind of like it better that way. So now that everything's sanded, I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice coat of spray paint. And then we'll spray the whole hull with a nice thick coat of Thompson Water Seal to make sure everything's waterproof and to help prevent the wood from getting damaged. And this does spray on clear, so we'll still be able to see the paint job that we just finished. And that will complete part 1. But be sure to check back next week as we'll be dropping in all the electronics and building the top deck. But hey, thank you so much for you guys watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please feel free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And Lord willing, I'll see you next Friday.
Thanks for watching, and please feel free to subscribe.